Hi lovelies, and welcome to another video on my channel. As always, thank you very much for joining me today. This video is all about creating this mani. So this is my second Christmas mani of this season because, you know, I love my Christmas nail art. I can't help myself. And my first mani I went red and gold, so I thought today I would go green and silver. I also thought I would do some stamping. So for those of you who aren't either comfortable or confident or unsure about doing sort of freehand drawing or line art, that sort of stuff, I have done some stamping with this particular video and this design. So everything I have used, I have laid out here, I do believe. Oh, with the exception of my acetone, which doesn't fit on my screen. I actually repurposed an olive oil bottle for my acetone because it came in like a 1 litre plastic bottle, which was with a really wide lid, which was really hard to use. So I just decanted it into that because it's got a pourer and it works brilliantly. I love it. I also have used some non-acetone nail polish remover. So the reason I use the two is I use the non-acetone to remove the stamp because I don't know about you guys, but every now and again I do a stamp that I really don't like, not happy with, it didn't transfer properly, what have you, so I need to remove it from my nail, and I always use non-acetone for that. But when it comes to cleaning your stamping plates, you want to use pure acetone because non-acetone quite often has sort of conditioners or oils and things in it, and it can leave like a greasy sort of film over your stamping plate. So I always like to use plain acetone for that, but non-acetone on my nails. You'll also need your stamping gear. So obviously you'll need your scraper, your stamper of choice. Mine are both from Born Pretty, and your stamping plates. So I used 3 different ones to do these nails. All of them are from Bundle Monster. They are all years old. As you can probably see, this one in particular is quite well loved. So yes, you will need your stamping plates. You will also need a cotton ball or something to remove the polish from your stamping plate when you're done. I also use a claw to do that so that I don't actually have to come into contact with my acetone. I also used an orange wood stick. So if your stamps do not take your whole nail, you will not need this. So if you're doing stamps like this one, for instance, sorry, my camera is struggling with the glitter background, then you won't need to do that. So the reason I use this is for the full nail stamps. Sometimes you get a bit of stamp hangover that goes over the edge of your nail, especially around the cuticle area. And what you need to do is actually break that bit of polish. You'll see what I mean when I do the video. So it's more obvious on the thumb because as you can see, this is a full size image on the thumb. So what happens is you put your stamp down, you end up with a little bit of overhang of stamping polish here, and you want to remove that so that you can top coat your nail properly. Okay, you don't need to worry about removing the polish that gets on the side of your nails. You can do that when you're finished. That's not what you're worried about. All you want to do is run an orange wood stick or a toothpick, whatever you've got to hand, around the edge of your nail just so that you can break any bits of polish that are hanging over. But hopefully that'll make more sense when you come to see me do the design. You will also need, I've got a lint-free, I think these are called lint-free rollers, to clean off your stamper between stamps. Please don't ever put acetone on your stamper head. You will make it go cloudy and it will damage it over time. So please don't do that, but something like this or tape works beautifully. You can also actually use your scraper. You'll see me do that in the video. Sometimes if you want part of an image removed, then you can use the corner of your scraper. So the flexible scrapers are better for that rather than the really firm ones. I think I've got a firm one here. So this one is donkey's years old, but you see this one's got no give in it at all. It's really hard plastic. I personally don't like this type of scraper, but it might be all that you've got, in which case, yeah, you could try that. But the flexible one's going to be a lot easier for you than using the hard one. In terms of polishes, I used this Blue Sky, which is the green, which is BLZ23. Come on, camera. There we go. And I used Madame Glam's Paradise, which is the holographic silver. And I've used, my top coat is NSI Flexi Gloss. I do actually have a code for NSI which will give you 10% off your new order, so I'll pop that at the top of the screen. I used silver stamping polish, this is from NSI, and I used this green from Mundo de Unas, which I have had for years. So actually, before we get into it, I want to do a really quick shout out to two of the products that I used today. And it's both of the green ones, ironically, the gel polish and the stamping polish. And that is simply because I have had these in my collection forever. I don't even know if these colors still exist. I don't know whether they still make them. You'll see me with this one. I did give it a good shake up, but you'll see it's gone very runny, which is quite ironic. Normally over time they thicken, but this one hasn't. It's done the opposite. And I do shake it up a couple of times because it is really running quite low. But given how long I've had this polish, it is amazing how well it's lasted. And the same for this. This is even older. This can't be any less than about 8 years old at this point. I did have to give it a good shake, and to be honest, this is probably the last mani it is actually going to make, because it has, well, for one thing, there's hardly any left in it, and it is gloopy, but of course, you know, it goes even more gloopy over time, which is actually what you want for stamping polish, so that's not the issue. The issue is that it's just basically running out. But it did a fantastic job, and I have to say, given how old those two products are, super duper impressed. And I think that is everything that I used, that we've touched on. So I hope you like this mani. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you are all well, and let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is come in with your cleanser of choice, isopropyl alcohol or whatever it is that you use for the system you're using. Come in with a lint-free wipe and make sure you just give those nails a really good clean. Don't forget to do under the free edge as well. Get rid of any dust particles or bits of oils or anything like that that are hovering around your free edge. Try and hang on to the lint-free wipe if you can, unlike my efforts. I think I forgot to mention, if you don't have a base down already, you will need to go in with a base coat. If you've got something like a builder gel or a polygel or an acrylic, you don't need to worry about that. So you won't see me go in with a base coat because I've got a base down already, but if you don't, you will need to start off with a base coat. And I'm just going to start, I'm going in with, first of all, on my little finger with that green. This is the green that I have had, oh my goodness, for so long now. I cannot believe that it is still going. You'll see me struggle with it a little bit in places because it does go quite patchy. Given how old it is, it's really not surprising. It's quite miraculous. But when I looked in my collection, it's really the only sort of Christmassy green that I have that's got a little bit of sparkle to it, which is what I wanted. So I think I will definitely need to get myself another one for next Christmas, because really it's an essential. You need to have a good Christmas green in your collection. And then my index finger is the other nail on this hand that is going to be in the green. All the other three nails are going to be in the holographic silver, and I'm just doing opposite to what I have on my other hand. So I'm going to go in with the holographic on my thumb, as opposed to the green which I've got on my other hand. So I'm just going in with those colours. And don't forget to cap your free edge, of course. I think I get a little bit of shrink back on this one. Again, that'll just be the age of the polish, and you can see me there give it a little bit of a shake, just because I was getting a little bit of, I just wasn't getting great consistency with the colour, and you'll start to see me move around my nail in a little bit as well. So if you have a colour that's actually not decades old, then you won't have to do any of that. But it was the only shade of green that I had that I thought was appropriate, so I went with it. Clean up any mess that you make, and then I'm just going in with the holographic silver, and I'm going to do that on my ring finger and on my middle finger. So please, I do apologise also for the state of dehydration of my skin. It is not surprising because I've just come from doing my other hand. You know, it's a bit unavoidable when you're using acetone, non-acetone removers, isopropyl alcohol. It is very drying on your skin, but it is just surface dehydration, and when I'm finished I will put some cuticle oil on and that will solve that. But if you're familiar, if you do your nails quite regularly, then you're familiar with that sort of whitish look that you get when your skin's a bit dehydrated from all the yeah, bits that dry out your skin. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but never mind. It's the end of the day, what can I say? Just going in, doing a little bit of tidy up, and then that is going in the lamp, and they both cure for 30 seconds, both of those colours. So that's what I popped them in the lamp for. I'm just starting with the silver just because it was the one that I had left out. So little things like that can save you some time rather than swapping colours constantly. Just go with the colour that you last used and start with that. That's little bits of time, but you know, little wins. It's all about little wins. And that second coat's really important for this colour, especially if you've got like a nudie colour underneath like I have, then it definitely needs that second coat just to give it a little bit of depth. So some coats, some colours you can get away with one coat. This is not one of those. You will need to do a couple of coats for this one, unless of course you're just using it as a topper and you want to see that colour underneath, in which case that would look really pretty as well, and you would just go with the one coat for that. So I'm coming in now with my second coat of the green. I only do 2 coats of both of these gel polishes. 2 coats is enough. Sometimes with certain colours it helps, you know, to do a third layer if they're really quite streaky. It generally happens with pastels and things like that, but you are better off doing 3 thin coats rather than 2 thicker coats, but neither of these polishes needed it, so that was easy. They just had the 2 coats and into the lamp they went. And the second coat, that also cures for 30 seconds in your lamp. And I did my thumb off camera because you'd seen me do the 2 coats on the other nails. So I just went in and did my thumb off camera. I just did that in the same holographic silver, so you'd already seen that. The application of that polish is really quite nice and quite easy. So that was an easy one. And now I'm just coming in with my cleanser and I am removing that tacky layer. You do not want the tacky layer of gel polish on your nail when you come to do your stamping. So I'm just getting rid of that. And this is where the fun begins. I don't think I've ever sat down and done stamping and it just goes brilliantly from start to finish. I don't even know if that's possible. I don't think it actually is. There's always a fail somewhere along the line, starting with, you know, if you've got fumble fingers with the bottle to begin with. So I'm coming in first of all with the green for the Christmas tree, and the start of this is a fail, as you'll see in a moment. So my plan was to put this on my little finger because it's a small image, that Christmas tree, and I thought, ah, perfect for my little finger. So I've come in, I've done my stamping, got rid of the excess and gone, oops, that's green stamping polish on a green gel polish. So we'll just start that again, shall we? So we will clean that plate. So that's the acetone that I'm using there as opposed to the acetone-free remover. So on your stamping plates, definitely go with acetone if you have some, because you don't want that oily residue. So take number 2, we're going in with the correct colour this time, which is the silver. Because I still wanted my Christmas tree. It's a really cute little tree, that one. And it was the perfect size for my little finger, which is really quite small. My nail beds are not very wide. So I struggle a bit sometimes with stamping plates. A lot of stamping images can be quite big, but I was looking for a little one for my little finger, and this one was just the perfect size. As you can see, your lint-free roller is going to pick up absolutely anything in its pathway. So I think you see that a couple of times. And I'm just going in and cleaning off the stamping polish. So you don't have to do it immediately after doing your stamping, but it can be a little bit easier than trying to do it once the polish is fully dried. It's not a big deal, especially if you're using acetone, but I tend to clean it as I'm going. Just makes it that little bit easier. And here I'm coming in, this is going to be the present nail. So here I'm trying to get it so that you can actually see the stamping in line with the camera, but it's a little bit tricky, but I think I do turn it so you can see what I'm doing just before I actually press it down. And I was happy with that one. That was a win the first go. It's a miracle. It is quite amazing. It's very rare when that happens. And it might be the last time that it happens, actually. But never mind. A couple of times I put them on and they're just not happy. I don't really like the way that they look. Sometimes it's that particular stamping image doesn't work well with the polish that you've got, or the scraper that you've got, or the stamper. There's so many variables in stamping. So if you are having trouble with it, please don't give up. Just try changing one of the variables. Try a different stamping polish, or try a different stamper. That seems to be the biggest difference I've found, is the actual stamper head that you use. Also your scraper, that can make a big difference, believe it or not. Sometimes the more flexible ones work better than the firmer ones. I usually find the flexible works the best for me, and so I don't tend to swap that out that often, but I do often swap out the polish, and I do often swap out the stamping head itself. I do have a few different stampers, and it does help if you can do that so that you can swap them out. Here I'm just going in and removing the excess. So when you pick up a stamp from a plate like this one that's quite busy, it's got lots of things around it, you often pick up bits from other images that you don't want on your nail. So it helps if you just go in before you pop it on your nail. It's easier to remove it from the stamping head itself, and you can just do that using the corners of the stamping scraper. And I went through, did that image, and then I was like, no, don't like that one. So even though it stamped perfectly fine, the image came across really clear, I just didn't like it. I thought it sort of looked a bit, yeah, half-baked. So I decided, instead of putting the 2 stockings, I decided my nail wasn't wide enough for that, and I just went in with the 1. So this is where I'm using the non-acetone. I think I mentioned that before, and that's just because using gel polish, you know, acetone actually is it's how you remove gel polish. So I don't like putting acetone on my gel polish unless I'm actually planning on soaking it off. So I use non-acetone going into the nail. I think that's a slightly better shot where you can see me just using the corner just to get rid of that little bit of excess image that I didn't want or need. And I think this is a fail as well. I think I get it because I'm looking through the camera lens. It's not centered. It's like, oops. So, but it was a good view for you, having a look and seeing how I actually stamp it. But yes, it does need to be redone because I want it more centered than what it was. So we're going in for 3rd time lucky. And I think this actually does it. So yes, if you feel like, you know, stamping very uncoordinated or takes you several goes, you are not alone. And I decided to leave this footage in. I could have cut it out and just shown you the bits that went well, but I thought, you know, it's important to know that it doesn't always go to plan, and there's things that you can do when it doesn't. So you can just simply remove it, try a different stamping polish or whatever it might be. I didn't really have that option because I specifically wanted to use these 2 colors. I did find that I had to change some of the images that I used though, and you don't see this in that video because I had that experiment when I did my first hand. But some of the images that didn't have those thick enough lines just looked wishy-washy. They didn't pick up very well. So that's why you'll see me going, all the images that you see me use here have quite thick chunks of color. And that's why these stamping polishes didn't particularly pick up the really fine images very well. So it is a bit of experimenting. As I said, sometimes just swap out one of the variables, change the image you're picking up, change your polish, change your stamping head, and give it a go. Oh, and I think this one I have a few goes and things don't work out quite so well either. So yes, but as I said, I did decide to leave it in because, as you can see, sometimes it takes a few goes to get what it is that you want. And at this point I probably should have cleaned off my scraper. I normally do that. Usually once I've scraped several images, I go in and I clean my scraper as well. But I didn't do that for some reason. I think I was too busy listening to Christmas carols and bopping along to the music, and then I thought afterwards, oh, I should have done that. But anyway, it was a good nail afternoon. It was a good bit of a therapy session. It's just been one of those days. I just needed some time out and something therapeutic, and the best thing for me to do that when I'm like that is just to do my nails. So yeah, we all need to have our little outlets and things. Oh, I'm a bit off screen there. I do apologize. I think this is where I go in with another image, and it just didn't hold together well. I stamped it a few times. I just couldn't get it to look right. I can't remember if I ended up stamping it on my nail or not. No, I don't think I do. I think I just look at it on the stamper and I was just not convinced. It just wasn't doing it. By the way, you want to really make sure that your furniture or whatever table you are using is very well protected when you are doing stamping. It is very, very messy. It is impossible not to make it messy. As you see, as soon as you scrape, you get polish all around your stamping plate, especially if the image is on the side. And you're working with acetone, you're working with polishes, and you just want to make sure that whatever you're using is very well protected. And silicone mats are actually really good for that. They are fantastic when you're doing stamping. So I've got a layer of paper towel down, which I've got doubled up, and it still goes through to the silicone mat, but it doesn't really matter because that's the purpose of the silicone mat. So just make sure that whatever surface you are working on is very well protected, because stamping is very harsh on the table and things around you, and very dehydrating for your nails, but we've had that discussion already. But that's easy fixed, of course. When you finish, just put on a bit of hand cream and some cuticle oil and you are good to go. Okay, and I think that is all the images for the fingers. Now, yes, I'm going in with the image for my thumb. So this is the bigger image, which I do put it in screen in a second. I think I realized that I was out of shot. Yes, I do. There is a bit of reflection from my light. I'm sorry about that, but there's not a lot I can do about that, I don't think. If anyone has any tips for that with the camera, please do let me know, because obviously I need good enough light so that the video is fine, but then of course it reflects off the silver of the stamping plate, so I do apologize for that. So I've picked up my image. The thumb is very awkward to do anyway. So yes, I'm doing my best here to get it lined up. And I think I've come into shot. No, I don't, sorry. But yes, it's a tricky one to do your thumb, just obviously because of the shape of it and the angle that it's on. So I think that is the last image. I think that one worked out well. Yes, I'm putting my polish away, so that was fine. Try and clear up your workstation as much as you can, because it is going to be very messy, and try and avoid as much as you can dipping your hand into that polish that's all over the place. And here's where I'm coming in with my cuticle stick. So it's not really important on those fingers because my images didn't overlap, but you can see there with the ribbon it does, and here as well. I'm just breaking that little bit of polish, so there's a little bit of hangover polish hanging over the edge of the side of the nail, and all you're wanting to do is just break that link. That's all, nothing else, and just make sure that all of your stamping polish is sitting flat against your nail. And I'm going in now with my top coat. I try and remember the order in which I did my stamping. You want to make sure that your stamping polish is completely dry before you go in with your top coat. So leave it for a good few minutes. If your polish is particularly thick, leave it for longer. Because it does need to be absolutely dry. If it doesn't, your image will smudge when you come in with your top coat, and equally your top coat may not cure properly because it's trying to attach to a damp surface. So you really want to make sure that that stamping polish is completely dry. Most stamping polishes do dry quite quickly because it's such a thin amount of polish by the time you've put it on the image and then scraped off the excess. But just do make sure you give yourself a decent amount of time for it to dry properly, and I just give a little bit of extra time by doing top coat in the order of which I did my stamping, if I can remember what that order is, of course. And of course you want to make sure that you fully cover your nail with top coat. That's important at the best of times, but when you've been stamping it is absolutely essential, because otherwise your image will start to lift. You also want to make sure that you cap your free edge, and again that is super important if your image is a full nail image, or at least goes to the free edge. So you want to make sure that you cap your free edge really well. And also, if you can avoid it, just put a decent layer of top coat on. Don't skimp on your top coat, because you don't want to risk smudging your image, especially by the time you're happy with it, because you've got it centered, you've got it just the way you want it. The last thing you want to do is smudge it so that you have to redo it. So yeah, just make sure you give it make sure you have enough top coat on your brush, and so that you're not having to drag the brush down the nail. So float it on, basically. Obviously you don't want to flood your cuticles, you don't want that much, but you do want enough that you can float that top coat on. There we go, in with our capping. of the free edge. And then this top coat goes in, and I cure that in the lamp for 60 seconds. And I think I top coated my thumb off camera as well. Yes, I did. So here I'm going in again with my acetone free polish remover, and this is where you can remove the stamping polish from around your nails and your skin, etc. Make sure before you do this, give your nails a good 30 seconds out of the lamp. Do not use acetone or non-acetone remover on your nails when they are warm from the lamp, because you will ruin the shine on your top coat. So make sure your nails are nice and cool, and then come in with some acetone free polish remover and just go around your cuticles and sidewalls and anywhere else you made a mess like I did underneath your fingers. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you like this mani. I hope you are all well and keeping safe and enjoying all these Christmas designs that are out and about. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.